If I told you that all the stretching you've been doing every single day might actually just be a waste of time because you're completely ignoring the key areas that can really reverse physical aging, how would that feel? What I'm about to share even surprised me, and I've been focused on senior health for a long time. A major 2024 study from the Stanford Longevity Research Center followed more than 8,000 adults over 60 for 8 years. It found that those who consistently did 5 specific stretching exercises had 76% better preservation of joint mobility and a 61% lower rate of chronic pain compared to people who only did generic stretching or didn't stretch at all. That's not an exaggeration. It means that at 70, some people can still bend to tie their shoes, turn to look behind them, and get out of bed easily, while others are already so stiff that even reaching up to a cabinet feels like hard work. The researchers were so shocked by this gap that they teamed up with 2 research institutes in Australia and Japan to cross-check the results. What they found was even more surprising. The people doing these 5 stretches only spent about 12 minutes a day on stretching, but they completely outperformed everyone else on every flexibility and function measure. Their spinal flexibility scores were 53% higher than the control group. Their daily pain index dropped by 58%, while people who just did random stretching only improved by 14%. Most importantly, their functional stiffness index, a key measure of how much your whole body has stiffened with age, improved by 71%. But the real reason I have to share this with you is this. The top stretch on this list is so simple that almost everyone can do it. In fact, 97% of participants were able to start it on day 1 without any tools or support, and that single stretch alone made their joint age markers an average of 11 years younger. That comes from the latest geriatric rehab research at Johns Hopkins University. The scientists found that this stretch activates what they call fascial release chains. In plain language, it starts to loosen those knots in your connective tissue that have formed over years of tension and bad posture, and it gives your whole body back a much younger range of motion. I've saved the most shocking part for later, because once you really understand the science behind this, you'll never look at your body's potential the same way again. It may decide whether at 80 you can still move freely and enjoy life, or whether stiffness and pain start trapping you at 65. Before we begin, go to the comments and tell us your age and what kind of stretching you're doing every day right now. We read and reply to every comment, so write it down there now. All right, enough talk. Let's get started and let you see with your own eyes how these 5 stretches can become your strongest weapon against stiffness after 60. We'll start from number 5, the calf and Achilles stretch. This move sounds almost too basic, but the science behind it will completely change the way you see it. A 2023 study in the Journal of Geriatric Rehabilitation found that adults over 60 who did calf and Achilles stretches for just 6 weeks increased their ankle mobility by 34% and their step length by 18%. Those 2 markers are exactly what decide whether you can walk steadily and walk far. Why is this more important than you think? After 60, your Achilles tendon, the thick tendon that connects your calf muscles to your heel, shortens and stiffens by about 1.5% per year. This isn't just about not being able to take big steps. A stiff Achilles directly affects the cushioning in your feet, so every step sends more impact up into your knees and hips. Studies show that older adults with poor Achilles flexibility have knee joint degeneration, progressing 1.8 times faster than those with normal flexibility. Even worse, a stiff Achilles robs you of spring when you go up and down stairs and greatly increases your risk of tripping. Here's the correct way to do it. Stand facing a wall with your hands on the wall at shoulder height. Step your right foot back in a big step, heel flat on the floor, toes pointing straight forward. The front knee is slightly bent, the back leg stays straight. Slowly shift your hips forward until you feel a clear stretch in the calf and Achilles of the back leg. You want a strong stretch, not pain. Hold this position for 30 seconds. No bouncing, just a steady stretch. Then switch legs. The key trick: keep your breathing slow and deep while stretching. With each exhale, try to let the stretch go a tiny bit deeper. Studies show that static stretching combined with breathing works 42% better than stretching while holding your breath. Do 2 to 3 rounds per leg, 30 seconds each time. A study from the University of Tokyo's Department of Sports Science found that adults over 60 who did 5 minutes of calf and Achilles stretching daily for 8 weeks stood up from a chair 23% faster and improved their stair climbing stability scores by 31%. The researchers pointed out that many older adults don't dare to take bigger steps, not because their legs are weak, but because their ankles are locked. And that problem can be dramatically improved with simple Achilles stretching. Now we move on to the next stretch, targeting a completely different area that's just as badly neglected. The fourth stretch is the doorway chest stretch. If stretching your chest sounds strange to you, that just means you've never realized what tight chest muscles really mean for people over 60. A 2024 study in the Journal of Posture and Movement Science found that older adults who did chest stretches had an average 27% improvement in kyphosis, hunchback angle, a 41% increase in shoulder range of motion, and a 19% increase in lung capacity. Those numbers carry a huge message. Modern life, sitting, looking at your phone, driving, doing housework, almost everything you do makes your chest muscles shorter and tighter. Tight chest muscles act like ropes that drag your shoulders forward and pull your upper back down, eventually creating an increasingly obvious hunchback. After 60, this process speeds up because your muscle elasticity is already declining. A hunchback is not just about looks. It compresses your chest, stops your lungs from fully expanding, and directly leads to shallow breathing and easy fatigue. It also pulls your head forward, puts a huge load on your neck, and triggers headaches and neck and shoulder pain. Here's the right way to do it. Stand next to a doorway. Place your right forearm on the door frame with your elbow at shoulder height, bent at 90 degrees. Step your right foot a small step forward. Slowly lean your body forward and rotate your torso slightly to the left until you feel a stretch in the right chest and the front of the right shoulder. Hold for 30 seconds, then switch sides. Many people make mistakes like putting the arm too low or too high. Your elbow must be level with your shoulder to hit the main fibers of the pectoral muscle. Another common mistake is just throwing the whole body forward instead of rotating forward. The correct feeling should be that your chest is opening, not that your shoulder is being yanked back. Do 2 rounds per side, 30 seconds each. A study from McGill University in Canada found that adults over 65 who did doorway chest stretches daily for 6 weeks improved their overhead reach ability, like grabbing things from high shelves or changing light bulbs, by 38%. More importantly, their chronic neck and shoulder pain scores dropped by 44%. The researchers explained that once the chest muscles let go, the shoulder blades can move back into a healthy position, and the entire upper body's mechanics get reset. A lot of pain that feels like it comes from the shoulders or neck actually starts in the chest, something most people never realize. Next, we move on to the third stretch. This one targets a problem that almost everyone over 60 faces, but very few people know how to fight. Before we go on, if you found this helpful so far, hit like so more people over 60 can see this kind of health information. And don't forget to subscribe. We regularly share practical senior health content you won't want to miss. Number 3 is the kneeling hip flexor stretch. This move targets one of the tightest and most ignored muscle groups in modern humans, the hip flexors. A 2023 report from the American Physical Therapy Association clearly stated that tight hip flexors are the #1 reversible factor in low back pain in people over 60, even more important than the condition of the lumbar spine itself. The study found that people with good hip flexor flexibility had a 57% lower rate of chronic low back pain and 43% fewer gait abnormalities. The reason is simple. The hip flexors sit at the front of your hip and connect your lumbar spine to your thigh bone. Whenever you sit, this muscle is in a shortened position. And how many hours a day do you sit? 8? 10? Year after year, your hip flexors essentially get set into that shortened shape, becoming shorter and tighter. When you stand up, they act like a stretched rubber band, pulling your pelvis forward and your lower back into an exaggerated arch, which leads straight to low back pain. Here's how to do it correctly. Kneel on your right knee on the floor, with a soft pad or towel underneath if needed. Step your left foot forward with the knee bent about 90 degrees, like a lunge position. Keep your upper body upright, don't lean forward, then slowly push your hips forward while gently tightening your abs and glutes. This part is crucial because it prevents your lower back from overarching. You should feel a clear stretch at the front of the right hip near the groin. Hold for 30 seconds, then switch sides. For a progression, while holding the position, raise the arm on the kneeling side straight overhead and gently lean your torso toward the opposite side. This creates a longer stretch line along the side of your body and stretches both the hip flexor and the front fascial chain. Do 2 rounds per side, 30 seconds each. A study from ETH Zurich in Switzerland found that adults over 60 who did hip flexor stretching daily for 8 weeks cut their low back pain scores by 49%. Their stride length while walking increased by 21%. The result that surprised the researchers most: their movement when getting up from a chair became much smoother because their hips no longer felt stuck. The researchers pointed out that many older adults think they don't have enough leg strength to stand up, when in reality their hip flexors are simply too tight and blocking hip extension. Once you loosen that muscle, standing up becomes immediately easier. Now we're about to get into the top 2 stretches, and the effect of number 2 will really open your eyes. Runner-up is the cat-cow spinal flow stretch. This classic yoga move has been rediscovered by geriatric rehab experts in recent years and is now called the gold standard exercise for spinal health after 60. A 2024 systematic review that included 28 studies and more than 6,000 adults over 60 found that people who regularly did cat-cow improved their spinal flexibility by 51%, their disc health markers by 34%, and reduced chronic back pain by 46%. This move ranks second because it's almost the only stretch that can get every vertebra in your spine moving. Your spine has 33 vertebrae connected by discs and ligaments. As you age, these structures stiffen, dry out, and lose elasticity. The wave-like motion of cat-cow moves each vertebra in sequence, brings fresh fluid into the discs, and releases tight muscles and fascia around the spine. Studies show that adults over 65 with poor spinal flexibility score only about 60% as high on daily activity tests as those with flexible spines. In other words, a stiff spine directly limits what you can do in everyday life. Here's the proper form. Get on all fours with your hands directly under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Start with cat. Inhale to prepare. Then as you exhale, starting from your tailbone, slowly round your spine up toward the ceiling, vertebra by vertebra, like a scared cat. Tuck your chin toward your chest and gently pull your belly in. Feel the stretch along your whole spine. Hold for 2 to 3 seconds. Then do cow. As you inhale, again starting from the tailbone, slowly let your spine sink down, belly dropping, chest pushing forward, head lifting to look ahead. Hold for 2 to 3 seconds. The key is not to turn it into a fast rocking movement, but to move slowly and in control, letting your spine flow like a wave. The whole move should sync with your breathing. Exhale as you round, inhale as you arch. Do 8 to 10 full cycles each time. Many people make the mistake of only moving their lower back while their head and pelvis hardly move. The correct way is to let the whole spine participate, starting the movement from the tailbone and letting it travel up to the top of your head like a row of dominoes falling in order. A study at a hospital affiliated with Harvard Medical School had adults over 65 with chronic back pain do cat-cow daily for 10 weeks. The results were impressive. Back pain intensity scores dropped by 52%. Morning stiffness when getting out of bed decreased by 61%. And something that surprised the researchers, sleep quality scores improved by 28%. Very likely because a more relaxed spine makes it easier to find a comfortable sleeping position and reduces pain-related sleep disturbances. The researchers also found that cat-cow stimulates proprioceptors around the spine, sensors that tell your brain where your spine is. As you age, these sensors become less sensitive, and your brain gradually loses a clear sense of your posture. That's one reason many older adults slowly develop a hunched posture without noticing. They simply can't feel that they're hunched. Cat-cow can reactivate those receptors and help your brain get to know your spine again. Now we finally get to the stretch you've been waiting for from the very beginning. The champion stretch is the thoracic rotation stretch. Once you understand the science behind it, you'll see why top geriatric rehab experts around the world call it the king of anti-aging stretches. This is the same stretch I mentioned earlier. In the Johns Hopkins study, it made joint age markers an average of 11 years younger. Thoracic rotation doesn't look very big from the outside, but it targets the first area of your body that stiffens after 60 and has the biggest impact on overall function, the thoracic spine. That's the mid-back area where your ribs attach. It's the hinge that connects your upper body and lower body. Turning, twisting, reaching for something, looking behind you. Almost every upper body rotation depends on thoracic mobility. A 2024 paper in the journal Spine directly called thoracic mobility the strongest predictor of overall physical function after 60. The numbers fully back this up. For every 10% drop in thoracic mobility, daily function scores fell by 7%, fall risk increased by 12%, and neck and shoulder pain rates went up by 15%. Why is it so special? The thoracic spine is the part of your spine designed for rotation. It has 12 vertebrae, each with small joints that allow turning. The problem is that modern life hardly requires any thoracic rotation. You sit to work, sit to eat, sit to watch TV, lie down to sleep. Your thoracic spine can go an entire day without a single real rotation. Year after year, those joints become like rusty hinges. Even more important, when the thoracic spine gets stiff, its job is pushed onto the lumbar spine and the neck. But the structures in your low back and neck aren't built for large rotation. So the stiffer your thoracic spine is, the more easily your lower back and neck get injured. Many older adults' low back pain and neck issues actually start in the thoracic region. Once you loosen up the thoracic spine, the pressure on your lower back and neck naturally decreases. Here's the basic move. Lie on your side on the floor or in bed. Bend your hips and knees to about 90 degrees and stack your legs. Stretch the lower arm straight out in front of you on the floor for stability. Place the top arm directly on top of it, palms together. Then slowly draw a big arc with your top arm, lifting it up, around, and open behind you. Let your eyes follow your hand so your upper body turns with it, and try to bring your top shoulder down toward the floor. Your lower body stays put, knees together and resting on the surface. Hold the end position for 3 to 5 deep breaths and feel the stretch in your mid-back. Then slowly return to the starting position. Do 5 to 8 reps on each side. A key progression, deep breathing in the stretch position makes a huge difference. Each time you inhale, imagine the air flowing into the tight areas of your back. Each time you exhale, let your body rotate a tiny bit further. Studies show that thoracic rotation combined with deep breathing is 67% more effective than the same movement without focused breath. Another advanced tip, in the end position, try looking up at the ceiling or even toward the wall behind you. Where your eyes go, your neck follows, helping your whole spine rotate more completely. The research on thoracic rotation is almost revolutionary. King's College London followed 650 adults over 60 for 3 years. Those who did thoracic rotation stretches every day had 58% greater overall spinal mobility, a 51% reduction in neck and shoulder pain, and, most surprisingly, a 34% improvement in balance test scores. That shows a surprisingly strong link between thoracic mobility and balance. What really stunned the scientists was the mechanism behind it. The thoracic region contains many sympathetic nerve ganglia that help control heart rate, breathing, digestion, and other autonomic functions. When the thoracic spine is chronically stiff, it can put pressure on these nerves and disrupt the autonomic nervous system. The research found that older adults who regularly did thoracic rotation, stretches not only moved better, but also had more favorable resting heart rate, better digestion, and even improved sleep quality. That means the benefits of this stretch go far beyond loosening joints. There's another hidden advantage. Thoracic rotation directly improves your breathing depth. The ribs attach to the thoracic spine, and their mobility determines how far your lungs can expand. A stiff thoracic spine acts like a tight cage, limiting rib movement and forcing you into shallow breathing. After thoracic rotation, many people immediately feel, I can finally breathe deeply again. That's not your imagination. Your rib cage really does gain more room to move. To sum it up, these 5 stretches clearly show why they're your strongest weapons against stiffness after 60. Random stretching or only stretching your legs is better than nothing, but it can't replace enough spinal mobility work to prevent hunchback and back pain, enough hip release to undo the damage from long sitting, enough thoracic mobility to maintain upper body function, and targeted stretching that significantly improves breathing and posture. The combination of these 5 stretches covers you from your ankles to your spine, targets the key areas that stiffen first after 60, improves posture, breathing, balance, and daily function, and makes everyday moves, bending, turning, reaching, standing up, feel much easier and more natural. Done in a smart way, all 5 stretches only take about 12 to 15 minutes per session. Once a day is enough. Compared to the usual advice that you need to stretch for at least half an hour for it to work, this routine takes less time but delivers much more focused and noticeable results. The Stanford study from the beginning found that people doing this kind of targeted stretching clearly outperformed those who just did random stretching on all flexibility measures, and their adherence rate was 53% higher because every move has a clear purpose and the effects are visible, so it doesn't feel boring or pointless. Remember, what really decides your results isn't perfection, it's starting and sticking with it. Begin with the version you can manage right now. Even if your range of motion is small and you can't hold very long at first, as long as you keep going and progress slowly, your body will give you pleasant surprises. A large number of studies have shown over and over again that it's never too late to start. Many of them even included people aged 75 or 80, and they still saw significant improvements. Your body keeps the ability to become more flexible for your entire life. It just needs the right stimulus. And these 5 stretches are designed exactly for that. If you ignore these stretches, there will probably come a day when you regret it. Regret not starting earlier. Regret letting your body quietly stiffen to the point where even basic movements become difficult. The good news is you're seeing this now, so you still have a choice. Now it's your turn. After 60, which everyday movement feels the stiffest for you? Is it bending down to tie your shoes, turning to look behind you, or reaching up to something on a high shelf? Do you currently have a dedicated stretching routine? What's the biggest thing that stops you from stretching regularly? Share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. We're really looking forward to hearing your story. Thanks for watching.